Iowa will not be among the states holding an early Democratic presidential contest in 2028. Just today, the Democratic National Committee's Rules and Bylaws Committee selected 6 states eligible to hold primaries or caucuses beginning in February. They're listed on your screen right now, and those elections will start in South Carolina. KTIV Iowa Capitol Bureau reporter Isabella Warren is following the decision from today. She joined us live tonight from Des Moines with more on the reaction from Iowa. Isabella?
Well, the state of Iowa did not receive any support to be part of the early voting window at today's meeting, and Iowa Democrats are frustrated. This is the second presidential cycle in a row that Iowa has lost its spot at the front of the Democratic nominating calendar. Party Chair Rita Hart says that national Democrats don't understand the importance of Iowa voters.
I don't know what it'll take. But that's just another reason why I'm so disappointed that they don't see it already, in spite of being hit over the head with this point over and over again.
Now, Iowa lost its first in the nation status after technology problems delayed the results of the 2020 caucuses. The Iowa Republican Party continues to hold the first caucus in the nation for the GOP, and Republican Party Chair Jeff Kaufman says Iowa Democrats should have fought harder to keep the state's spot.
You don't have to be a political sage to realize what was occurring and what was going on here, and the Iowa Democratic Party let it happen by not pushing back.
Now, that is the next question, right? Will Iowa Democrats push back? The state party could still hold its own early caucus without the approval of the DNC, but it could face some significant punishments. Now, the state party would lose all of its national delegates, as well as face a $270,000 fine. Now, Party Chair Rita Hart says there's already some voices within the Democratic Party telling them to defy the DNC, but she says that's a decision that needs to be made after the midterms. In Des Moines, I'm Isabella Warren.
Isabella, thanks. Meanwhile, New Hampshire disregarded the National Party back in 2024 and still held an early primary there. The calendar will still need to be approved by the full National Committee in August.